Hey everybody, this is Mr. McKee again with Net 125. Today I'm going to be going over Packet Tracer 2.7.6, which is to implement basic connectivity. All right, now we're getting into more, I wouldn't say hardcore programming or configuration, but it's getting a little bit more. It's not too bad so far. All right, but what you want to do first, when I first open up the instructions for one of these packet tracers, I look at the addressing table. All right, I just try to see how everything's set up. I look at the IP address, subnet mask. All these are on the same subnet. All right, because 255, 255, 255, 0 subnet. All right, I look at the topology. Notice this topology is the same as the last packet tracer. I notice that it's already converged. If it's not converged yet, you can do the fast forward time if you want to. You can also reload all the configs, all the devices. All right, and then watch them in fast motion converge. All right, so they're all good. Pretty basic. 2 switches, 2 PCs. All right. If you notice right here, VLAN, virtual local area network. That's just the default VLAN interface. That's basically the interface that if you need to connect to a switch to do some configurations, that's the address you'd go to. Call it the SVI IP address. All right. So it's not like an interface IP address, like a router would have an interface IP address of all of its interfaces. This just has an IP address assigned just for configuration purposes. And also to make sure you can talk to it. If you ping it, you can ping the VLAN 1 interface on a switch to verify that you have physical connection to it. All right, so each switch has one of those. PCs, they all have the standard internal IP address. All right, so we're going to perform basic configuration on S1 and S2, configure the PCs, and configure the switch management interface, or SVI. Yep, switch management interface. It's called SVI. Maybe it'll tell us what that stands for. All right, the chapter more likely does. Okay, so basic in the background in this activity, you'll first create a basic switch configuration, then you will implement basic connectivity by configuring IP addresses on switches and PCs. When the IP address configuration is complete, you will use various show commands to verify the configuration and use the ping command to verify basic connectivity between devices. All right, so it's only a 3-page packet tracer, which sometimes that's a little deceptive on how hard it is, but in our case, it's not very hard at all. All right, so part 1, we're going to perform basic configuration on S1 and S2. So complete the following steps on S1 and S2. Always start with 1, move to 2. Click S1 and click the CLI tab, which is already on there. Hit enter. All right, so we're going to configure, let's see, S1 with the host name, and enter the correct command to configure the host name on S1. So let's do enable config terminal. All right, so we're going to do a host name command. If I can type, let's see. Hostname S1. All right, notice that it's changed the terminal to that S1 name. All right, configure the console and encrypted privilege exec mode passwords. All right, so the console password is going to be Cisco. So we're already at config. All right, so let's do line console 0. All right, so let's see. Password Cisco. Log in. And you can be looking at your your points also. Don't really worry about these points, but I know people look at them all the time. All right. See how nothing's been graded yet, but I've got a percentage. So hopefully I'm doing that correctly. Let's see, where's S1? All right, so it's graded me for login being correct, password, host name. All right, but let's not look at that anymore. It's good I'm doing that correctly. All right. So use class for privileged exec mode password. And notice it's saying configure the console in encrypted privileged exec mode passwords. So let's go back to S1. All right, so we're going to do let's exit out of that. Enable secret. Enable secret. So we're going to set the enable or privileged exec mode password to class. All right. How can you verify that both passwords were configured correctly? You can do exit, show run. And one thing it didn't tell us to do yet is make all the plain text passwords encrypted so that no service password encryption is on so right now. All right, so enable secret is encrypted, and it didn't tell us to encrypt this, but it's in there. All right, it's in there as Cisco. Now you can do it that way, or you can do this. Exit. All right, so console password is, what was it? Cisco. All right, lets me log in there. Enable class. All right, so I know it's right. I can do it that way. The other way, I know I can do it. I know I did it right. Of course, looking at the running config, you can't see what the password is, obviously, for the enable password, privileged exec password, because it's encrypted. All right. So verify password encrypt. Okay, how can you verify both passwords were configured correctly? Okay. Now, step 4 is configure the message of the day banner. When we want to go back to global config. Enable. Well, we're in enable already. Config T. All right, we're in global config. Banner. And don't worry if you don't remember these commands, because I do this a lot. So at first I didn't have any clue. I'd have to look up every command. Okay, use the appropriate banner text to warn unauthorized access. The following text is an example. All right, so banner message of the day space delimiter. I'm going to do I like doing the pound or the hashtag. Authorize access only. Violators will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. You can put a little exclamation point. Actually, you know what? For grading purposes, whatever it tells you to do, I do that to the letter, even case sensitive, just to make sure I get graded correctly for packet tracer. So try not to deviate. A lot of times it'll give you a little note that says that also. Ending delimiter, which is my pound sign in my case. Hit enter to make sure it liked it. All right. And if I want to get back to the show run command from the global config line, global config mode, I can do show run. So that's a shortcut. Trust me, when you're doing this certification exam, you're going to want to do this stuff. It's all about knowing how to do it, but also knowing where to go and the quickest way to get there, because you're timed, obviously. So you want to be able to get there really quick, get the correct information, and move on. So little shortcuts are good. Now we want to look at the message of the day. All right, so it's right there. It shows that in the config but also what we can look at it when we log out. So I'll do Control C to break out of that line. All right, so save the configuration file to VRAM, or NVRAM. So let's go to privilege exec, copy running config start. All right, destination name is default. Hit enter. All right, so that's saved. That answers that command. All right, repeat steps 1 through 5 for S2, but obviously name it S2, not S1. So let's go back up. All right. Enable config terminal. All right. Let's do host name S2. It is storming here right now. I don't know. It's loud. All right. Host name S2. Let's do line console 0. Password is Cisco. Login. Remember to put that login command in there. It's not going to work. All right. Exit. Enable secret class. And just make sure those are right in the right place. All right. And we can verify that for this one, but we're going to skip that for now. All right, let's do a banner message of the day with the hashtag. Now, I wonder if I can just actually highlight this and do a Control C and do in here. And if you right click in Packet Tracer, that'll give you a paste. See how I just copied that? So that's, unless you type 1,000 miles a minute, that'll save a lot of time. All right. So that's that. And then we need to do a exit and then copy R. I swear copy RS used to work. Copy to start config. So that's copying the current our concurrent configuration that's in the running config to the start config. So if it's restarted, it'll come up as the current configuration. We want to use the default file name of startup dash config. All right, so we're good right there. All right, so we should be down here. Let's exit out of that. Configure the PCs. Configure PC1 and PC2 with IP addresses. All right, so click PC1, which is right here. And remember, I showed you guys, this doesn't look exactly like a PC, but it does what we need it to do. And then click the desktop tab, which is, did I just click? I might have just clicked it by, yeah, I already clicked on the desktop tab, or it was already selected. Click IP configuration, and it looks like a 4-section, like 4 blocks with a 106 in it right there. All right, that opens up, and notice interface fast Ethernet 0. That corresponds to what it's actually connected to the switch from on the topology. All right, in the addressing table above, you can see that the IP address for PC1 is 192.168.1.1, and the subnet mask is all 255.0. Enter the IP address, or enter the information for PC1 in the IP address configuration window. Man, that's too bad. I was going to ride my bike today. I guess I'm not going to ride my bike. All right, 192.168. I should be doing more videos anyways. All right. And if you tab down, just like on a PC, it takes the class full subnet mask, because like this is a class C address. It automatically makes it a class C subnet. That's fine for now, but just more to say about that. All right, let's see. So don't worry about the default gateway and the DNS server. You can just exit out of that. Repeat steps 1A and 1B for PC2. But remember, maybe for a lot of people it's obvious, but if it tells you to do the exact same thing, don't do the same IP addresses. When people write like documentation and you understand it fully what you're doing, sometimes it's hard to explain exactly what you're doing to others. Not because you're trying to be mean or anything, just because you don't understand. You don't really think about it. All right. So remember, when you're doing especially coding and working in IT, get to know your users, ask them what they expect and what they want. Don't try to assume what they want or expect. All right. Because you might give them more than they want, and that takes a lot of time for you or costs you more, etc., etc. 192.168.1.2. All right. That looks right to me. All right. So we've done that. We're going to text connectivity to the switches. Click PC1. All right. And I always like to make this thing a little bit bigger. Click command prompt. We're going to use the ping command. All right. 192.168.1.253. And let me see. All right. So when I hit enter, this is going to sit here and try to it's sending pings, but it's not getting requests. So it's going to time out. All right. So it's going to try it by default 4 times, and then it's going to stop. All right. So ping statistics for that IP address: sent 4, received 0, lost all of them. So that is very sad. All right. So what it was doing, it was trying to ping this, that SVI on this, basically the configuration communication IP address on the switch. And the reason it's not connecting it because it's not configured. So we're going to help it out with that. All right. Configure the switch management interface. Okay. Configure switch 1 and switch 2 with an IP address. Configure switch 1 with an IP address. All right. Switches can be used as plug-and-play devices. This means that they do not need to be configured for them to work. Switches forward information from one port to another based on MAC addresses. And that's why when you first start up like I said before when I went over packet tracer, by default, all these interfaces are going to start working. A router, on the other hand, all the interfaces by default are turned off. So just realize that. All right, so let's go to S1 and do Control-C to get back to the command line. All right, config T, do a shortcut. Now we're going to do the interface, VLAN 1, and VLAN space 1 it has to be. All right, so we're putting in an IP address, space 192.168.1.253, space, and then we're putting in the subnet mask. So basically we're telling it, all right, your IP address is going to be this IP address, and then the subnet mask. We'll go over this in a later section, but that just means the first 3 octets of this IP address are all used for the network address, and the last one's 0. So all 256 possible addresses are usable, but you can't use 0 because that's the network address, and you can't use 255 because that's the broadcast address. So in this case, you can use up to 254 addresses. All right. So if you don't understand that, we'll go over that more down the road. But that's one of those things that kind of like slows you down, especially on the CCNA exam, doing the subnet masking and IP addressing and stuff like that. But once you get it, you get it. But don't worry, a lot of people, it takes them a long time to get it. But once you get it, it makes a lot of sense, and it's actually pretty cool how it works. All right, and then by default, this isn't turned on. All right, so if I tried to ping it right now, I couldn't ping it, even if I saved that configuration. So if I do a no shutdown, all right, and it even tells me, okay, the link has been changed, interface VLAN 1 changed to up. All right, line protocol and interface VLAN 1 changed state to up. All right, and if you hit tab, it'll get out of that. All right. And I answered my question, the question right here. Why do you enter the no shutdown command? Well, just like I said, it won't actually let you ping it until you enter that IP address. All right, use the information in the addressing table to configure S2 with an IP address. All right, and let's do config T. And sometimes I just start typing commands, and I need to look at it, what it's telling me to do first. But mostly I type them right. All right, so in this case, we're going to have to do the S2 IP address of, so just the last 254 on the fourth octet is different. All right. So IP address is 192.168.1.254. Make sure I'm doing that right. All right. Make sure you put your subnet mask in. All right. Always double check when you enter stuff like that in the CLI, because a lot of times you'll make a boo-boo. Don't make boo-boos. All right. If you make a boo-boo, you just remember to do the no IP address, whatever you just put in, and because sometimes you're going to overwrite and put 2 entries, just like we did for the privileged exec password in a previous packet tracer. You don't have dual entries. You want to have 1 entry. So if you do the no, and you can also use the up arrow as your history, all right, just like you're using command line in Windows or like terminal in Linux or something like that. You have your history set. All right. So if I put that in, the IP address in, I could do a no IP address, whatever. All right, so I'm gonna hit enter again. I probably shouldn't have done that, but it's not going to cause any problems. But no shutdown to turn it on. All right, notice it shuts down. It turns on. All right. All right. So one thing, let's take a look at our grades. Well, our grade's looking pretty good since it says 100%. All right. So save configurations for S1 and S2 to VRAM. Exit. All right. Whoops. Now I can get by that by doing this. So copy running to start. All right, copy that one. And come over here. Exit. Copy running to startup. All right, that's saved now. Let's see. All right, verify network connectivity. Network connectivity can be verified using the ping command. It is very important that connectivity exists throughout the network. Corrective action must be taken if there is a failure. Ping S1 and S2 from PC1 and PC2. All right. So probably what I would want to do is open up packet tracer wise. I would open up PC1 and PC2. Now I want to ping the address. All right, so let's go to command prompt. So we know PC2 is .2. So ping that. We get responses on immediately. All right, and we can ping 253. And a lot of times in packet tracer, the reason you get a timeout first thing, when it does an ARP translation, it times it out. All right, so first request timed out, the 3 the three ones after that didn't time out. All right, now if you do the up arrow for your history, now if you ping it, you'll get responses immediately. All right, now if I do up arrow again, I want to ping the SVI on S2. All right. So notice again, it timed out the first try, the first ping. If I do it again, it's good to go. Now let's go to PC2 and let's do the same thing. All right, so nothing's in there yet. What we can do is we can do a copy. And actually what you do is highlight, right click, copy, click on this, paste. Now I'm going to ping 254 first. That's fine. All right, notice it did that. 253. And wait for that to finish, and then 1. All right, so good to go there. All right. So all pings should be successful. If your first ping result is 80%, try again. It should now be 100%. You will learn why the ping may sometimes fail the first time later in your studies. I don't know why it would be. How would it ever be? I don't know how it would ever be 80% if you have 4 pings. You chop up 100% into 4. That would be 25 apiece. So how they get 80 is, I don't know. I would say 75. All right, that's what I got. All right, so we are good here. What you need to do, copy your .pka file, upload that, answer all your questions here, which I believe there are 6 questions in this Word document. And finally, go over here. Where are we at? Right here. Click that and check results. You can see how it says, congratulations, Mr. McKee. You've successfully completed the activity. All right. Notice it gave you 100%, but what it's doing, the score is not 100 out of 100. If you didn't have, I think almost always, if you don't have any questions, this will be 100 out of 100 points. But they kind of like split that up between that and your questions. But either way, I'm not worried too much about that. But just do a screenshot showing that you got 100%, and then upload your questions. So you're gonna have three files to upload. All right, pretty much probably from now on in Packet Tracer. All right, and make sure also you would do file, save as, back that thing up somewhere if you want to make sure you have a copy. That's a good idea. If you do it in the lab, remember we have all those PCs are frozen with deep freeze, so it won't store anything that you put on those PCs. Have a thumb drive. Have a make sure it's a USB 3.0 at least. Or if most people are doing it at home though, since we're online, make sure you back that thing up to a USB drive or your PC or your OneDrive. Your OneDrive is fairly fast. All right, and that's it. Thanks for watching.